joining us today. You're going to find yourself a comfortable seat to begin. If you have a pillow nearby, you might want to sit on your pillow, or if you have a yoga block handy, you can always sit on your yoga block. If it's more comfortable to have your legs facing forward, that's absolutely fine. You can sit in any way that feels comfortable for you. Bringing the hands to the knees, extending the fingers. Get a lovely deep stretch into the fingertips. And then just gently soften into the hands. You can take a mudra if you like, joining middle finger, pointer finger and thumb together, extending the other three fingers. Sitting up tall, softening through the shoulders. Take a lovely deep breath in through the nose. And as you sigh the breath out, you can gently close your eyes. Take a moment to connect into the body. Noticing how you're feeling today. So as our world goes into a season of very strange times, we carry a lot of anxiety in the body. Whether we feel like we're mentally coping or not, the lockdown, the coronavirus, all of these things create havoc into us internally. Just giving yourself a moment to scan from top to tail and noticing if you're carrying any tension, any stress. Wherever you identify that space of tension, breathe into it to try and release. Using your inhale to grow a little bit taller. And using your exhale, soften down into the floor, feeling rooted. I'm creating a visual image of the tailbone connecting into the earth, drawing energy up out of the earth. Feeling that energy move into the spine. Watching it flow from the base of the tail, slowly up through the spinal cavity, until it reaches the crown of the head. Imagining a portal of light between the head and the sky, sending energy out into the universe. And then that energy shifts around and it starts to come in through the crown of the head, being drawn in with every inhale breath. Starting to slowly move down the spine. You can watch it as it goes all the way down to the base of the spine, where it starts to connect into the earth. Just spending a few more moments breathing in from tail to skull, skull to tail. On your next exhale breath, slowly lower your chin down to your chest. Let your head become heavy, sinking down into the earth. Maybe you'd like to add a bit more weight by interlocking the fingers onto the back of the skull. Make sure not to pull the neck down with force, rather allow a gentle release. On the inhale breath, you can lift back up to the center, releasing the hands down. And I'll lift the chin up, but keeping the back of the neck long. Feel an extension into the neck, and you're going to push your lower jaw further out. And then releasing into the jaw, coming back into the center. On the inhale breath, rotate to look over your right shoulder. And then inhale to the center. Exhale to look over the left shoulder. And then inhaling to the center. Exhale, dropping right ear to right shoulder. And then lowering chin to chest, keeping the spine upright as you do so. Inhale over to the left shoulder. And exhaling, chin to chest. Inhale right. Exhale chest. Inhale left. And exhale chest. Inhale to lift the face back up to center. And coming into some nice big shoulder rolls. Use the inhale to help facilitate the opening of the chest. And the exhale to facilitate the opening of the back. And you can come into a little mini cat-cow pose maneuver with the chest as well, with the spine, getting a little bit of mobility into the upper back, the upper chest. Really working the shoulders into a lovely big circle, noticing any areas of compression as you do so, and then trying to soften into those compressed areas. Let's take it the other way around, moving in the opposite direction. Use this as an opportunity to connect to the breath. And then inhale to the center. On the inhale breath, we're going to float the arms forward in front of you. Soften into the shoulders, so you're slightly retracting into those shoulder blades, lifting the spine up tall. On your inhale breath, pull the right arm back as though you're pulling into an arrow, and then reach the fingers all the way behind. So you're twisting with an open chest to the right side. You're going to take that back hand up and over to the front. Taking it now to the left hand side, pull the left hand as though you're pulling an arrow, making a fist, and then reaching the elbow all the way back, extending the fingers behind you, lifting up tall as you open the chest to the left side. That top arm is now going to lift up and over, coming to the front. One more time on each side. Let's pull back through that right arm, creating a fist as you actively engage the muscles to pull back. Open the hand out to the side. Inhale to lift the arm over, hands parallel. Let's take it to the left side. Engage into the fist as you pull that elbow back, opening through the chest. Breathe into the twist. And then extend the top arm over the ear, bringing the hands parallel. Release the hands down to the knees, and then start to work through a seated cat-cow pose. On your inhale, lift the chest, lift the throat, lift the heart. And then as you exhale, lean back, rounding into the spine, tucking the chin to the chest. Inhale, opening up through the front body. Draw the shoulder blades together. You can lean forward here. And then exhale to round into the spine. Flow at your own pace with your breath. Inhale into the seated cow pose and exhale into the seated cat pose. Let's do one more. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, coming back into the center. Let's float the arms out to the side this time, reaching your fingers away, but slightly drawing the shoulder blades in. So you feel as though the arms are being pulled into two different directions. Engage those fingertips, really active here. Because we're going to start with some small circles into the shoulder. Keeping the circle controlled, and that the shoulders are still engaged, pulling back in through the rotator cuffs. Just change the direction around. And then taking this into a lateral stretch, lowering the right hand to the floor and reaching over through the left. If your right elbow doesn't touch the mat, that's absolutely fine, just soften it in towards the waist. And then reach your finger and your hip in the opposite direction. Inhale to lift up to center and over to the other side. Let the bent leg drop towards the floor to anchor and stabilize. Still working into the energetic line from tailbone to crown. And then inhaling, coming back up to center. Let's take it over onto hands and knees into a tabletop position. And then again, flowing through your cat-cow pose. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Take a bit more space in the shoulders if you need it. On the inhale, breath will flow to drop the belly, lift the face and hips. And then on the exhale, breath rounding into your back, tucking chin to chest. And close your eyes here and start to connect in to the sensation of the movement. Feeling the full body. And notice if the movement is isolated into one part of the spine, and if it is, try to move it out of that space and into the two other areas. So we generally talk about the upper, middle, and lower back as the three areas of the spine. Very often we feel this only in the lower or only in the middle. And see if you can try and shift it so that the full length of the spine is getting activation. Taking one more round. And then coming back into your neutral spine. So neither arching nor rounding into the back. You're going to bring your right fingers and left toes back, keeping the fingers and the toes touching onto the floor for now. Really lengthen through the crown of the head and the base of the tailbone. On the inhale breath, slowly lift the arm and the leg up. And then on the exhale breath, slowly lower it back down. We're going to do this for a few rounds, inhaling to lift and exhaling to lower. We're working into coordinating the rise and fall of the limbs at the same time. We're also looking to activate the tummy muscles so that we don't arch the back on the lift, but maintain neutral spine, reaching head forward, tailbone back. flowing through one more round, and on the next lift we'll hold it there. So floating up and holding for a few breaths. Exhale, slowly releasing, and then place the hand and the knee onto the mat. Bring the toes to touch, opening the knees wide, and then sinking the hips down into an extended child's pose. Maintaining quite a lot of activation in this child's pose. Walk your fingertips forward as you slide your hips back. And now walk the hands slightly in, flattening the palms against the floor and pushing your sitting bones down towards your heels. Open the shoulder blades wide. And then from here, we're going to lift back into your tabletop by rounding into the back and engaging the tummy muscles to lift. Adjust your alignment so that the hips and hands are open to the correct space. And this time we're going to be taking left hand, right leg back. Lift into lower belly, reach the head and the tailbone, and then on your inhale breath, float the arm and the leg up, coordinating the movement and slowly releasing back down. Inhale to lift. And exhale to lower. So we're activating into the hamstring on the back of the thigh, working into the glute muscle to lift, engaging the core muscles to maintain neutral spine, lifting into the rotator cuff and getting a gentle stretch down the side of the torso into the lats. Quite a lot happening in the back body here. On the next one, we're going to inhale and lift to hold for a few breaths. And then slowly releasing to drop the hand back down. Release the knee coming into your child's pose. Sitting the hips to the heels. Walk the hands out in front of you, and we'll take it into a lateral stretch. So both arms coming over to the right hand side. Make sure your neck is relaxed and comfortable here. You may want to walk your left hand on top of the right. Be mindful not to let the shoulder blade open too wide here. Keep the shoulder more or less in line with the right side. And then plug back through your hip bone to deepen the stretch into the lats and the QLs. On the inhale breath, walking over to the left hand side. Plugging back through that right hip. And then drawing the right shoulder blade a little bit towards the fingers. And then inhale, coming to the center again. So rounding into the back, tucking the tummy muscles in to lift back up into your tabletop. From here, stepping the right foot forward. And then you're going to lift your hands up onto the front knee, lifting the spine tall. Depending on how much space you have, if you can bring your front foot a little bit further forward so you can get more of a arch into that back leg, then try and do that. If that's not going to happen, if there's no space, you can keep the foot a little bit closer towards the body. So with the front hands down to the knee now, we're going to slide the hips forward as you start to open your chest away from that front thigh. The elbows start to gradually straighten And then you draw the shoulder blades back and down so that the front body is opening. Lift through the back of the neck. So instead of lifting up to the sky with the chin, rather lift up to the sky with the crown of the head. Getting a lovely deep stretch into the whole spine. Also working into this front hip flexor by dropping down a little bit deeper. On your inhale breath, lift yourself back up towards the center. Bring your knee back. So now you're standing onto both knees. You're going to tuck your toes under here. And then bring the hands onto your lower back with the fingers facing down. You're going to start to draw the shoulder blades in together. Lift open through the heart. And take a very, very gentle back bend here. So we're not going too deep. Just starting to lift open through that front body, engage the glutes, engage the thighs, and you push the hips a little bit forward, noticing how that's going to lengthen the lower back, and then opening up through the heart. We're not aiming to go too deep at this moment. We'll come back to our camel pose again, and then you lift up straight and tall, engage to the tummy muscles as you lift up. Let's take the left foot forward now. And again, if you've got the space to wiggle the front foot further forward and sink into the back hip, then you can go for that. Sliding the hips down as you start to open the chest away from that front thigh. Really connect into the sensation of what's happening in the body. If you feel as though the body wants to go deeper, then take it there. If you feel that the ego wants to go deeper but the body doesn't, then you just let that ego disappear off into the ether and bring your awareness back to what the body is saying. On the inhale breath, as if back up to center, you're going to bring your knee to stack next to each other and tucking the toes again. So we're standing upright onto the knees. Squeeze your inner thighs closely together, engage into the glutes. Let's bring the hands onto the lower back, and again lifting up nice and tall. Start to open up the chest. You can take the back bend just a little bit deeper this time. Again, being mindful of what's happening into the lumbar. We don't want to compress the lower back. We want to feel as though the upper back is opening. Draw the shoulder blades together and lengthen into the neck. So you're not compressing into the vertebrae here. As you exhale, you're going to release, going to sit back up again. You can keep the toes tucked, but draw the knees tightly together now. Bring the heels tightly together. You're going to hold onto the back of your heels as you lower the crown of the head towards the floor, and then lift your hips up. The more you close the heels, the deeper the stretch across the back of the shoulder blades. Should also be a nice releasing effect into the lower back. If rabbit pose is too intense, come into a child's pose instead. And then release the toes down, sink the hips down, and drop the head to the mat in child's pose. Bringing the hands in front of you and rounding into the back to come into your tabletop. On your inhale breath, lifting all the way up onto the knees. Open the knees just a little bit again to find space into the lower back. We'll step the right foot forward. And again, if you've got the space to heel toe that front foot a bit further forward, you can. Otherwise, keeping it back is perfect. This time, let's take the hands up to the sky. Now you're going to lift out of the lower back, really engaging into the spine, lifting the pubic bone slightly. You need to turn to face you so you can see what we're going to do now. And I'll start to lean forward without hanging onto that front thigh rather. So the ribs come just to the inside of the thigh, and then you're reaching your fingers forward. You're going to activate the core muscles to hold here. If the shoulders are very tight, you can always bring the hands behind you instead. This is another option to relax into the neck and shoulders if you're working with shoulder issues. From here, you're going to release your hands down either side of that front foot. Keeping your left hand to the floor, take the right arm up in an easy twist. Plug down through your front big toe and then slowly rotate the chest open. And again, if you're working with shoulder issues, you can always bring the top hand onto the hip or extend into that top arm, whatever's easier. Let's exhale to bring the hand to the inside of the foot. Heel toe the front foot a little bit wider, and then walk your arms directly forward, dropping the head down. And then inhale, walking the hands back in again. You're now going to step back, bringing the knees next to one another. Tuck the toes, engage into the core, and roll yourself up. Bringing the hands onto the lower back. We're going to go for this camel pose again. Getting a little bit deeper each time we move into our Ustrasana. Gently and slowly opening that spine. If you feel that the back is ready, you can maybe walk your hands onto your thighs. If not, keep the hands on the back for support. Focus on opening the front body and really engage the back body to maintain the weight. We engage into tummy, exhale to lift, and then sitting down into the heels. And just hold into a Virabhadrasana for a moment. So just sitting here, lengthening the lower back. And then inhale to lift back up to center. Then take the left foot forward. And again, you can heel toe a little bit further forward if you have that space. Floating the hands up towards the sky. Sink into the hips, open up through the heart. And now we're going to lean forward. So you're bringing the ribcage just to the inside of the thigh. If you need to bring the hands behind you, that's an option for shoulder issues. Or you can bring the hands in front of you for a little bit more intensity. Releasing the hands to the inside of the foot, taking the left hand to the sky. Plug down into that front big toe, so the thigh and the ribs are joining towards each other. On your exhale, bring the hand to the inside of the foot, heel toe that front foot a little bit wider, and then start to walk the arms out in front of you for our lizard lunge variation. On your inhale, make your way back to the center, step the knee back, walk the hands in, and come all the way up onto the knees. We're going to take our last camel pose. So tucking the toes under, lifting up out of the lower back, hands to the SI joints. Squeeze your thighs, squeeze your hips as you open up through the chest. You have the option of bringing the hands to the thighs. If you feel that the back is ready, you can bring the hands onto the heels as well. Otherwise, keep the hands on the lower back. To come out of the pose, hands onto the lower back. Exhale to lift the tummy muscles We're going to take it into a second round of rabbit pose. So bring the heels and the knees to touch. Tucking chin to chest as you lower down, holding onto the heels. Lift your hips. The crown of the head sort of just hovers half a centimetre above the floor. So there's no dumping of weight in the neck. And then release the toes, release the head down into child's pose. And walk the hands in front of you, rounding your spine up into a tabletop. Bring your right foot to the outer edge of the right hand. Bring your hand onto your knee, lifting up and stepping forward to Tadasana at the front of your mat. Breathing into the lumbar by engaging the lower body, lifting the crown of the head to the sky. On the inhale breath, floating arms up. And as you exhale, forward fold, releasing the hands down. You're very welcome to bend your knees here, especially if you've got lower back issues or the hamstrings are very tight. You can bend your knees and release your head down gently. Bring the hands onto the shin bones and you're going to lift the chest into flat back. Balancing on the front of the feet. Slide your hips back, reach your head forward, and then open up through the chest as well. You're going to come down for a second round of forward fold, undulating the spine as you release down. Hands to the knees, inhale, lifting the chest back up, flat back. One more time, all the way down, forward folds, and we're going to lift into chair pose now. So bend the knees, lifting the heart, opening up through the front body. Make sure that you're neither sticking out nor over tucking the lower back, bringing it into a neutral spine. If you have shoulder issues, you're going to bring the hands together at the heart, still opening up through the front body without putting any strain into the neck and shoulders. See if you can sit just a little bit lower into those heels. The inner thighs are still squeezing towards one another. I practice with about 4-finger distance between the knees and the heels to keep my limbs in line with my hip joints. One more breath here. No, this is a hard pose. And then exhale to forward fold. Heel toe the feet out wider, toes at a 45. Bend your knees and hold on to opposite elbows. You're going to completely release down into ragdoll. Maybe a little swing from side to side. See if you can get your head, neck and shoulders to relax. And then see if you can get them to relax even more. Release the hands down to the mat. Heel toe the feet, hip distance wide again. Begin to inhale, lift the right leg so that the heel comes towards the glutes, and then slide that foot back, dropping the heel to the floor, rolling the spine up into a warrior one pose. You can always adjust your alignment to feel more comfortable. You want both toes pointing towards the front of the mat, and then lifting out of the lower back. Again, if you're working with shoulder issues, hands will come to the heart instead of lifting overhead. Breathing tall here, softening through the shoulders and the neck. Lift the crown of the head up, bend your front knee, and sink the back heel down all at the same time. On your exhale breath, start to straighten the front legs. You might need to step your back foot in a little bit if you're feeling too wide. And you're going to fold halfway down, hands together at the heart. Push your right hip forward, your left hip back. Engage into tummy muscles. You can, of course, bring your hands to your shins or even to the floor if that's more appropriate for you. But aiming for hands at the heart to engage the core muscles. You're going to inhale, lift yourself back up, and then step the back foot in, coming into Tadasana. On the inhale breath, bending knees, reaching arms up, Utkatasana. You can draw the hands overhead or draw the hands at the heart. Lift into the bandhas, the pelvic floor, and sink the hips a little bit lower. This is a stamina pose. Holding it is challenging. We need to breathe, we need to soften the face, finding your drishti point. One more breath here, and then exhale to forward fold, dropping down. Heel toe the feet a little bit wider, toes at a V shape, knees bent, holding onto opposite elbows. And again, a little sway from side to side. So make sure the knees are bent in your ragdoll, and then this way the lower back is not going to take any strain. One more breath. Coming back to the center, heel toe the feet, hip distance wide. Inhale, flat back. Now going to float your left heel to your glute, and then slowly stepping it back, warrior one. So the back heel drops to the floor. You can round your spine to lift up, drawing the arms overhead. If it feels more comfortable for the shoulders, hands at the heart. Square the hips, open up through the front body. Feel the neck growing softly, so we're not jarring it up out of the shoulder girdle, but feeling as though it is gently, slowly lifting up. On the inhale breath, straighten into the front leg, maybe step the back foot in a little bit, square the hips, and coming halfway down. Really anchor through that back heel. Keep squaring the hips and squeeze the inner thighs together. You can, of course, drop the hands to the shins, the block, or the mat. And then inhale to slowly lift yourself back up. You're going to step forward into Tadasana. Take a deep breath in. And out. On the inhale breath, take the hands up to the sky. Interlock the fingers, turning the palms to face up. Choosing your drishti points in front of you, we're going to slowly start to lift onto the toes. Keeping the heels as wide as the middle toes. And then lift your heels as high as you can. Press into the big toe. Press into the baby toe. One more deep breath here. And then sink the heels down, releasing the hands back to the heart. You're going to step the right foot back this time. So floating the knee up slowly, and then feel as though you are pressing through thick, sticky treacle to slowly land the foot into warrior two pose, opening the arms over the thighs. So you want your front heel to more or less line up with the back arch. The back toes just slightly in, just a small degree to take the strain out of your ankle joint. Open the inner thighs, so you're feeling as though the inner thighs are rotating to the top of the leg. Hips are square, so very often what happens here is the one hip lifts at the back, the other hip drops at the front, and then the torso sort of hinges forward. You need to try and square those hips, and then that will get the spine upright. Breathe here. On the inhale breath, straighten the front leg, and then reach your fingertips as far forward as you can Then lower the hand to the shin, taking the right arm up to the sky. See if you can rotate the rib cage, floating the fingers up. The hip turns slightly in, the ribs turn in the opposite direction, creating a spiral effect. And inhale to lift back up to center. Rebend the front knee on the exhale. And then bring the elbow to the thigh. Sweep the back arm over the ear. Again, if you're working with shoulder issues, the hand will come to the hip. So you're still getting the open chest, the open front body, but without any strain into that shoulder. If you feel ready, you can sink the hips just a little bit lower. On the inhale, breath coming back up to center, straighten your front leg. Bring the back hand down, front arm up into reclining triangle. Keep the neck in a comfortable space here. I find that the chin towards the upper bicep is the best place for my neck. Inhale, coming back to center. Bring the hands to the hips. You're going to turn the toes at a 45 degrees so that the heels are in line with one another. If your stance is too wide, just heel toe the feet in a little bit. So facing to the side of the mat now. Inhale, lift the arms up into star. If you're working with shoulder issues, you can keep the hands to the hips and then bending the elbows into cactus as you open the knees wide into Gayasana. Breathe into the lower belly. Make sure the spine is in a neutral space. On the inhale, breath is straighten back into five-pointed star. Hands can come to the hips. You're going to turn to face the front of your mat and then step the foot forward, coming into Tadasana. Joining the hands together at the heart. We'll take the left leg back this time. So you lift your knee up and then you slowly move through that thick treacle. It's supporting the movement, giving you consistency to float back. Warrior two. Opening the arms out in a T-shape. Make whatever little adjustments you need to the feet, the knees, the hips, the spine to find your best pose. The feet actively press away from one another. On the inhale, straightening that front leg, and then reach forward, reach. When you can't go any further forward, then you bring the hand down, taking the top arm up. Again, hand can come to hip if that's what works for the shoulder. Twist the chest open and lengthen the under torso. Feels like you're being pulled by that top arm, lifting you back up to center. Rebend the front knee. Coming into supported Parsvakonasana, elbow to thigh. This bottom hand stays active. And then sweep the top arm over the ear to open up the chest. Bring the top hand to the hip if you're working with shoulder issues. And then breathing into opening up the torso, but at the same time pushing your bent knee wide. So we're feeling into the adductor muscles as well, the inner thigh. On the inhale, breath, lifting yourself back to center. Straighten the front leg, and then into the reclining triangle pose. If your feet have slid a bit wide, step them slightly in. The reclining triangle is a softening of the fingers away from the toes, softening of the toes away from the fingers. And then coming back to center. You're going to step yourself forward to your Tadasana. Holding into Ustrasana for a moment. Feet hip distance parallel. Breathe into the space. Let's move into a tree pose. And I'm going to actively press into your right foot. Feel as though that right foot is pressing below the surface of the mat. Come onto the toes of your left foot and then stack your left heel onto the top of your right foot. So now the hip is opening out to the side. Grow your spine as tall as you can, softening the shoulders away from the ears. You have the option now of maybe bringing your foot onto your calf muscle. Maybe you feel comfortable to bring the foot to the inner thigh. If not, you keep the heel onto the top of your standing foot and you work there until you feel comfortable. There's no rush, there's no need to be goal driven. Our goal is to be in the moment. So not in the future where the body could end up, but right now where our body is. Finding a calm, stable, centered balance in the chaotic world around us. And then let's release that foot back down to the mat. Taking it to the other side, start by engaging through both legs evenly. Grow the spine up. Feel the core muscles engage. And then shift the weight onto your left foot, coming onto the toes of the right. You can bring your right heel onto the top of your left foot. And if you're staying here, this is perfect. Keep working that knee open wider and lifting the spine up taller. And eventually you'll start to get a little bit lighter and lighter and lighter onto that right foot. Maybe floating up to the calf muscle. Or maybe up to the inner thigh. Please don't place it against the knee joint. We don't want to destabilize the knee. So all the different analogies of tree apply here. Being rooted to the ground, lifting to the sky, being stable but soft. And then releasing back to the center, dropping that foot down. Let's inhale, taking a lovely big stretch through the full body. And then as you exhale, we're going to forward fold and just soften into this forward fold. You can choose how active or how passive you want your fold. You can drop into a ragdoll, or you can keep the legs really strong and straight, entirely up to you. Now I'm going to step back through the right foot, dropping the knee to the mat. Stepping back through the left knee. Swing the feet to one side, the hips to the other, and come to sit down on your mat. Bringing the soles of the feet together. And then scooching your hips in as close to the heels as is comfortable for you to go. Interlocking the fingers around the big toes, push the knees down to the mat. Lift your spine as tall as you can. You have the option now of just staying in the seated variation, or if you'd like to come a bit further into your Virabhadrasana, you can start to hinge over your front heels. Imagining that your belly button is attracted to the heels and that's coming down first. Being mindful of the lower back. Don't overextend into the lumbar. Honoring your body each day. So each day is a little bit different. Some days I feel I can go quite deep in this fold. Today I'm feeling as though there's a bit of impingement into the SI joint in my lower back. So I'm going to just ease off today, taking it slowly. inhale to come back to center. Draw the knees together and then extend one leg out, extend the other leg out. Lift your hips off the floor, stick your bum back slightly, and then sitting down again. If you have a pillow or a block to sit on, that can be very comfortable as well, especially if you struggle in the hip flexor area to maintain an upright spine. Off the lower back is really rounding. Lifting the hips will help. Let's lift up nice and tall, middle toes pointing to the sky, and then gently start to creepy crawly the fingers down. And again, it's not about how far we can take the body in any one day. It's about connecting to the body in this day. You're going to lift a little bit up, straighten the spine as much as you can, and then walk yourself over to the right leg. Try and draw the shoulders a little bit more in line. So right shoulder back, left shoulder a little bit forward, and then forward folding over your right leg. Keep anchoring through your opposite hip so that the left glute does not lift off the floor. We're going to take this lateral stretch just a little bit further by placing your left hand to the outer edge of your calf, your ankle, your foot, wherever it reaches, and then take the right hand even further behind. Stay on the fingertips of the right hand, and then you bend your right elbow as you pull your left arm to help stretch that side torso. Again, keep your left hip really anchoring into the floor. And then let's inhale, releasing to the center and taking it over to the left hand side. So starting with just the simple twist, not going too deep to begin. Square those shoulders and gently forward folding over that shin. Anchor down through the right hip this time. And now taking the lateral stretch a bit deeper, right hand to the outer edge of the calf, the ankle, the foot, left hand behind, and then you start to draw the torso down, bending both elbows to twist and fold. Sink your right hip into the floor. Inhale, returning to the center. One last time to forward fold. Maybe you've worked out a bit more space, it feels a bit more comfortable this time. And then inhale to lift yourself back up. Hold underneath the knees, draw the legs together, and you come to lie on your back. So you can choose to either roll down slowly through a core roll or come down onto elbows. Lie down there. If you have lower back issues, come to the side before you lie down. And onto your back. Bringing the feet hip distance wide, fingers lightly brushing onto the heel. Make sure the toes are pointing in the same direction. And now press your lower back flat into the mat here. So you feel as though the tailbone is slightly lifting. You're going to very gently curl the hips off the mat. And then walk the shoulder blades underneath the back body. Press firmly into the feet and slide your chest towards your chin. One more breath to lift open through that heart, and then open the shoulders as you slowly roll down, upper, middle, lower, tailbone tailbone coming down last. Take the knees into the chest. And then open the back. So you slide the shoulder blades apart. You press down through the lumbar. Little gentle roll from one side to the other. Taking this into a happy baby. So you may just have the toes touching with the knees open wide. You may be able to hold onto the outer edge of the feet, bringing the knees a little bit wider. Maybe you can bring the heels in line with the knees, pointing the feet up towards the sky. The best place to have the elbows is the inside of the knees with the fingers to the baby toe side of the foot. And then you plug back down through the lower back, through the back of the skull. This is a beautiful releasing restorative stretch into the lower back. Opening up the front body, opening up the back body. Maybe you like the idea of rocking from side to side, and this can be quite a nice massage into the erector spinae, either side of your spine. Maybe you don't find that comfortable and you'd like to hold still. And then coming to the center again, you're now going to bring the feet down, keeping them wide. So the baby toe side of the foot lines up with the edge of your mat, opening the arms in a T shape. Keep the feet as wide as they are as you slowly drop from one side to the other in your windscreen wipers. Inhaling to lift and exhaling to drop. If you like the idea of rotating the head from side to side, and your gaze can go in the opposite direction of your legs. It's not comfortable for everyone. If your neck feels uncomfortable doing that, then just keep the gaze up towards the sky. Next time you come over to the right hand side, we're going to hold there. You have the option of placing the right foot onto the upper left leg. If that's too intense, drop the foot back to the mat. We're going to hold here. Take a lovely deep breath in through the nose. And sigh the breath out. Completely surrender into the spinal twist, relaxing, releasing, renewing. Drop your foot back to the mat, lift the knees back to the center, and over to the other side. And again, you have the option of bringing the left foot onto the upper right leg or leaving it on the mat. Let's take a lovely big inhale breath through the nose and then sigh the breath out. Release your foot to the mat first, then bring the knees back up to the center, and then take the knees into the chest one last time. flattening and releasing into the lower back. Moving into Shavasana, and if you feel that the lower back has worked quite hard and you want to find something more restorative for the lower back, you can keep your feet wide and the knees touching together. The arms will be in the regular Shavasana space, more or less in line with the hips, with the palms facing up. If you feel that your lower back is okay and you can lengthen the legs into your full Shavasana, and you bring your toes towards the edge of the mat. Soften the shoulders, soften your face, and we'll take the two middle fingers, the pointer and the middle finger, running up along the back of the neck, either side of the spine, coming into the knobbly bit of the skull behind the head. Gently lift the head up, chin coming towards the chest, and then release the head back down. Taking your thumbs to the mid of the eyebrows, and then running over the eyebrows into the temples, little massage into the temple, coming from the middle of the eyebrow up over the top of the eyebrows this time, back into the temples, just finding the space where you want the massage, sending it there. Coming from the middle of the eyebrows, a little bit higher this time, working up the forehead, into the temples. One more time, coming from the middle of the eyebrows, up to the hairline, down over the side, into the temples, and then down the side of the face, into the jaw, the joint between the upper and lower jaw, finding the space where your best massage is, working into that space, maybe even running underneath the zygomatic arch or the cheekbones. Especially if you have sinus issues, this can be really releasing underneath the cheekbones. And then slowly releasing the hands back into Shavasana. Eyes soft, face soft, breath soft. Your whole being is soft. Slowly start to deepen And lengthen your breath. Feeling your belly rise and fall. Gently running your thumb over the tips of your fingers. Moving your toes, your ankles, your wrists. Coming into a full body stretch, reaching the legs down the mat, reaching the arms overhead. Yawning or sighing as you extend the body. Slowly bending into the knees. And rolling onto your right side, resting your head to your upper arm in a fetal position. Feeling calm, feeling supported, feeling secure. Keeping your eyes softly closed as you lift into a comfortable seated position. Whatever is comfortable for you. Resting your hands to your knees, growing the spine up. Taking a moment to reconnect the base of the spine into the earth. Draw stability from the earth. Feel it rising up through the spine, out through the crown of the head, and into the universe. Drawing connection from the universe into the crown of the head, down through the spine, going through the tail and rooting into the earth. We are connected, we are secure. Bringing hands together to heart center and Anjali Mudra. We'll close the class by chanting Om once and Shanti 3 times. Taking a deep breath in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Raising your hands to your third eye. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Lowering your hands to your lips, to your heart, to your mat. Bowing forward in recognition of your practice. Blinking, eyes open, inhaling